right, y'all. We got another fragrance review. This time, of course, as you can see in the title, it's another Aventus Batch. That's partly why I started this channel anyway, so you shouldn't really be surprised. So, obviously, as you can see in the title, today we have 17YO2. Now, I've only really worn 17YO2 at this point 3 times. And I think I've spoken on this before, but with Aventus especially, and any fragrance that's based on that DNA, you always kind of wanted to give it a few wearings. Like in general, for me personally, that's what I do with all fragrances. But I feel like with Aventus especially, it's the one that makes the biggest transition from the first wearing up until the third and fourth, or really, just wear it once, rotate it in your fragrance arsenal, and then wait for the magic to happen after at least a month. And I'm not saying that it takes a month to get really good. What I'm saying is that I feel like a month after the first wearing, even if you wear it like twice, then let it chill for a month or so, or even, at best a couple weeks, there's gonna be a clear difference from not only the way it performs, but really the notes that you pick up and what you actually smell. But the longer you have it, it just blossoms. Just like literally it's one of those fragrances where every time you wear it, it gets better and better, right? So like I said, we have 17YO2. So 17YO2, it's actually really, all right. So if you smelled 17TO1, it's kind of like a merger of 17TO1 and I would even say 17W11. But the main difference is with TO1, you get a clear green apple. A clear, crispy green apple with a lot of vanilla. And then with 17W11, you kind of sort of get that 17T vibe, but you replace the green apple with actual pineapple. With 17YO2, you take that sort of vibe, but instead of a clear, specific fruit note, you get like basically a sweet fruit salad almost. I've seen some people say a Fruity Pebbles vibe. Now, me personally, I necessarily wouldn't say Fruity Pebbles, but I completely get where they're coming from because there's just a bunch of fruits and it's very sweet, but you can't necessarily pinpoint, a specific, like I wouldn't call 17YO2 a pineapple batch. I wouldn't call it an apple batch. You can definitely smell some black currant there, but like it's not just purely that. Like some batches are just like purely black currant. Some, like I said, are purely pineapple in the opening. And then, you have certain anomalies, 17TO1, that's, straight green apple, also with that vanilla. But like I said, with 17YO2, you definitely get just an amazing fruity vibe. It's sweet, but not like super vanilla sweet like 17T. It's more like crispy and freshly sweet, if that makes sense. You do get a clear vanilla, but it's not riding as high as in 17T or even really of the other 17 batches. It's just cruising along. Again, it doesn't sit on top like say 17T with the apple. It just kind of stays. It lets you know that it's there. It makes its presence, but it doesn't kind of overstep any boundaries. Like the first time I wore 17T, that vanilla was so in your face and up front that I actually didn't really like 17T until like my third wearing. And then I was like, okay, now I see where the hype comes from with this batch. But yeah, with 17Y02, it, in my personal opinion, it's one of those batches where it will make you go nose blind. Um, and if you wear it in the heat, it will evaporate sort of fast. And I'm wearing it right now, and it's been about 4 hours or so. I said four. It's been about four, maybe actually 5 hours or so since I started, um, since I sprayed it on. And at this point, I've gone completely nose blind to it. I'm pretty sure I could, if somebody were in the house other than me today, that it would be smelled. I guess I would have to wait till my lady comes home and then ask her, can you smell this? And then see what she says. But I think I've completely gone nose blind to it. But from the opening, like I said, it's very 17T, 17W11. It's in that sort of realm. It gives you those vibes, but just an offset. Like I said, it would basically be the midpoint between 17T and 17W11 as far as like, you got apple. Let me get in the screen. You've got apple over here and you've got pineapple over here. It's like right in between. But still with that sweeter opening, you get that vanilla and everything. In the mid actually retains that sweetness. Like some batches, for instance, like a lot of, the 16s, I was going to say 16C, but 16C still kind of stays pretty sweet into the mid as well. Actually, even into the dry down, and then you get a lot of that licorice. But I would say in the mids, again, very reminiscent of 17T. Yeah, I would put it right there with 17T. They're very similar. I mean, it is a Ventus, but I would say they're closer in vibe. I'm not gonna say they smell the same, but they have a similar vibe. Just like 17 W11 is a similar vibe to 17T, but they don't necessarily smell the same. Although again, it is a Ventus. It still remains that it keeps that sweetness from the top notes into the mid, and in the dry down, the sweetness hangs on, but it's still got that sort of woody type of vibe to it. Almost, actually, I can kind of pick it up just a little bit. Almost just like with the hint of patchouli. It's like a sweeter patchouli, woody type of vibe going there. Um, I would say, in my personal opinion, because I know at this point 17W11 is pretty hyped and it's well deserved. I have one bottle and I have another bottle on standby that's waiting to get shipped over. But in my personal opinion, and that's just me, if you can't find 17W11, I would try to opt for 17Y02 because they have a very, very similar vibe. But if you're one of those people who doesn't go super crazy over the pineapple, like a pineapple isn't a must, but you still want that sort of vibe, 17W or 17Y02, in my personal opinion, is a great replacement. They smell very similar. The only main difference I would say is obviously 17W11 has more pineapple at the top, and it stands like the pineapple legitimately stands out. And then the dry down are actually pretty different. But by the dry down, you know, I'll say this. I think if you wear a Ventus for compliments, Y02 might be a better compliment getter. And W11 would be maybe a better personal batch. That's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, that's my take on 17Y02. A very good batch, a very, very good batch. Nice and fruity. Again, some people call it a more fruity pebbles vibe. And although I wouldn't necessarily call it that, I see exactly where they're coming from with that. The only fault at this point I could say is the fact that I go nose blind to it. And that's pretty much it. But honestly, I'm still in, the baby stages as far as wearings with this particular batch. So by the time I get to wearing, number 10, it might legitimately be a beast, but I'm just not there yet with this particular bottle. I think at this point, the only bottle or bottles that I can say legitimately just last beastly would be 16M. 16M is so strong that you could take a shower after some hours of wearing it and you'd still smell it. Like 16M doesn't let up. What else? 15X21, definitely. 17T is another beastly batch. 17N, another beastly batch. Funny enough, the one batch that I had that just was super powerful upon first wearing was actually 17R01, which I have not done a video on, and I will do the video, but that video is going to be based off of memory, because I no longer own that particular batch. But spoiler alert, it's actually a really good batch. I think people sleep on it and talk down on it, but out of everything that I've owned, I'm not gonna say it's the best, but it's definitely still Aventus. And to be completely honest, I feel like 17R is closer to vintage Aventus than any of my other 17s. Yeah, to me, it's the closest one to vintage batches, as well as even. No, I was gonna say some of the 16s, but no, I have 16C and 16M. It's not closer than that, but as far as 2017, 17R, in my opinion, is closer to the vintage batches than any other batch that I personally own. So there it is. So, you know, I would say give 17, if you can find it, buy it. But if you just want, like a little decant, I think 17Y02 is definitely worth it, especially if you just really like the fruity vibe, if you like a sweeter Aventus, but not necessarily super bright. It's not, no, it's actually pretty bright, but really the best way I can describe it is if 17 TO1 and 17 Q11 actually. 17 TO1 and Q11 had a baby, it'd be about 17Y02. So, and then throw a little tinge of, just a little dash of 17W11, and I think you pretty much are spot on with 17Y02. So anyway, hope this review, was informative to you all. I hope, you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe if you like this kind of content. And if you don't, thanks for watching anyway. Just, help your boy out getting in the algorithms, you know what I'm saying? Then I can produce more content and we all be happy, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting the views, y'all getting the, I couldn't think of a word that rhymed with views that would make sense there, but you get what I'm saying. Just helping each other all out. Take care. I'll see y'all when I see y'all. And if you would like, if there are any fragrances that that I have, whether it be parfums, vintage, whether it be duas, I don't own Poseidon's Elixir 2.0, nor do I own, Gen X. So other than those, there are any doer reviews that you would like, Parfums Vintage reviews, or any particular Aventus Batch reviews, hit me in the comment section. If there's anything that you think I can improve on, hit me in the comment section, etc., etc. Do what you got to do. Hold some peace. I'll see y'all